Hello friend, Jim here with JB's Big Adventure coming to you from Lake Chapala, Mexico. And yes, today I'm going to be sharing with you in this video all about things that are illegal that other YouTubers are talking about that are misleading individuals with information. So that's what this video is all about, is I want to make sure that I'm getting you the correct information. So one of the things that people are being told is that they can come down here and they can get their temporal or their permanente here, everything inside Mexico, that they don't have to go to the Mexican consulate in the States. And I just want you to know that's illegal. That can't be the way it happens, because you've actually got to cross the border with a visa that has been started for basically for residency. So it has to be stamped in the States and then stamped going across the border and then coming down. And then the second part of the visa is then finished with an immigration attorney. So I don't know where people get some of these things sometimes. So it's absolutely untrue that you could do that. So that's absolutely illegal. Okay, so here's another one. Went ahead and said that people can own guns here, and basically said that it was perfectly legal. Now, there's actually two important things to that answer that was not shared. And I just think that's misleading, that you cannot bring a gun from the States into Mexico. That is absolutely illegal. The States got their rules when it comes to guns as open carry and such, but that isn't the way it is in Mexico. So here's what it takes to be able to get a gun legally in Mexico. So there's only one gun shop, and it's Mexico City, and it's like in a fortress that actually has the Mexican army uniformed soldiers that are around it. And they sell on an average about 38 firearms a day. So here's what it takes to be able to even get inside the building to buy a gun. For one, it takes months of background checks. So yes, they're going to check out about you. They're going to find out about you if you've got any kind of warrants, or if you're wanted in another country, or if you're a good person. So that's what they're looking for. Number two, there are 6 specific documents that you actually have to apply to be able to even get in the building to get a gun. The third is you're then frisked by a uniformed soldier. Those are the 3 requirements when it comes to applying to get a gun. And the other thing is, I've been asked about hunting clubs. Well, that's the other thing. If you belong with a hunting club and you are wanting to get a gun, that actually has to be part of the application to be able to have a firearm. Here is another one. This is number 3. That it's okay. You can't take large amounts of money and fly into the States, and it could be more than $10,000. It's not a problem. And that's absolutely false. If you're flying into or out of the country and you've got more than 10,000 US dollars on you, you absolutely have to report that. You can't just come and get on the plane and fly over here. No, you've got to have everything checked out. I mean, we've got a friend that bought a house and brought a cashier's check that was for several $100,000. And they even had to have that. In fact, it wasn't a check, it was a cashier's check. So it was like money. And had to have it checked in at the airport in the States before he came down. So if you don't declare it, even coming into Mexico, it's considered smuggling. and they'll confiscate it and actually cancel your visa. So the answer is no. You can't just be able to come into Mexico and have a wad of cash of $10,000 or more and just be able to go across the border. It's no big deal. You know, years ago, I used to be with Mercedes-Benz. I was in sales with Mercedes-Benz. And if somebody came in to the dealership with $10,000 or more, it had to be reported. It had to be reported. So that's an IRS thing. So what ends up happening is if it in fact is going into the States from out of the States and it's US money, that actually the IRS is going to know about that. And that's the reason it's looked at. Also for smuggling. So that's a real big thing in the States, but it's also a big thing here in Mexico. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of the correct and the honest and the truth about that question. Okay, drug possession. Now, this is one that I've seen quite a bit. And this person said that you could actually come into Mexico and come in with marijuana. And even if it's medicinal. So the rules and the laws about marijuana is acceptable in the States, but it isn't in Mexico. So you could actually be going in for drug possession, and you've got to make sure that it's all been approved through immigration and customs. But if you don't, and you could actually get drug-related charges, and Barbara and I have actually seen some videos about some TV shows that are actually at borders when people are smuggling stuff into the country. Now, I'm not talking about something you've got a prescription for. I would probably clear that when it's medicinal. I would clear that with immigration or customs and even the airline. Find out what the rules are in regards to transporting that. That would be an important thing to do, just so your own peace of mind of knowing what the correct way of doing something might be. Here is another one. That your passport has to be validated. So your passport's validated for 3 reasons. Either because you're coming in on a tourist visa, has to be validated, or you're traveling on a temporal visa that you're traveling, or on a permanente visa traveling. So your passport has to be validated. Now, when Barbara and I first moved to Mexico, we followed a guy down. It was an absolute disaster. I've got 2 videos I actually made about it. And it's really funny that I just recently, probably within the last month, actually saw the guy for the first time in 3 years. I saw the guy that brought us down. And I told Barbara that it was a really bad experience. Him trying to lose us, and it was bad, coming down here. But he never took us. When we crossed the border, when he had all of our stuff on his trailer and crossed the border, he never took us by immigration. And I am absolutely certain that he knew that. So Barbara and I, after being here for about 3 or 4 months, we actually had to fly to Tijuana and then go across the border into San Diego and then back into the airport. Now, we didn't end up having to do that because I was told by an immigration attorney I could just take a flight to Tijuana, then go into the lobby of the airport, and they'll just stamp the passport, and it's legal. They do not do that. You have got to go cross the border and then come back in, and they stamp your passport because you've been out of the country, and then you're coming back in. So then we were legal moving forward. But it is illegal to be here on what you would see as being a tourist visa, but your passport doesn't get stamped and have handwritten how many days they're giving you. I know of stories where people have come that didn't happen, or they came. One guy, he was actually here for 2 weeks. I'm sorry. He was here for 6 months. He thought he was here for 180 days on his visa, and it turned out it was only for 2 weeks. He was on a touring bus. They took everybody off of the bus and actually literally carded everybody. And they came to this guy and they arrested him and they put him in jail. And it was a big deal for him to be able to get out. A big deal. There was just a lot to it. So I just want you to know, you've got to have it stamped. If you don't and they find out about it, they could actually just take you right back up to the border and then not even allow you back in. So that's a really important thing. And if you're coming into the country and what they're doing is there's a card that you fill out on the airplane before you land. Once you get to immigration, what they do is they actually cut that in half and stamp that, and it's inside of your passport, and that is your tourist visa. If your airline does not do that, what will happen is they'll actually stamp your passport at immigration and write in however many days that they're giving you. So you got to make sure you're legally in this country. It doesn't matter what folks say on YouTube and other channels. You've got to do it correctly or you'll be illegal. If you're driving, it is a requirement that you have Mexican auto insurance. I'm just amazed. Somebody's talking about this and saying all you need is insurance on the car. And somebody's going to think that, well, I've already got insurance because I'm driving my car down from New York or from Florida. That isn't the case. You have to have, it's a requirement to have Mexican auto insurance. If you don't, they can actually impound the car and take it away from you, confiscate it. It's really important to have Mexican insurance. Also, you have to have valid license plates. Even if you are from the States on a foreign plated car, you've got to make sure that your car stays registered. If it doesn't, you get pulled over and it's out of time and it's past the requirement date, they can confiscate it and seize it and never see it again. It's really important to do it correctly. Oh, and it also stands for valid driver's license too. Now, a driver's license, as long as your driver's license is valid in the States and you keep up with it in regards to the date and it does not expire, you can drive in Mexico with no problem. You don't have to have a Mexican driver's license. So that is one thing just to let you know of, that it's an important thing when you're coming down, if you're driving down or you're going to drive while you're here, to know that your driver's license from the States is just fine, or from Canada. Number 6, e-cigarettes are illegal here. Any kind of vaping devices, it's illegal. And they're even saying that if you're smoking a cigarette, that's also illegal if you're doing it out around people. But vaping and e-cigarettes are illegal here. That's just some information for you to know. There was another YouTuber talking about that. And I just want you to know, it's illegal. It isn't legal. Don't believe somebody that says, well, you can just stick it inside of your luggage and bring it over. That's not correct. You cannot be having that in the country. And the last one is bringing in or carrying guns. But the more important one is ammunition. You probably heard recently of the couples that were in Turks and Caicos. And couples, these couples didn't know each other. But there were, I want to say, a number of 5. So there were like 5 tourists that were in Turks and Caicos. When they were leaving, it turns out that they went through their luggage and found that they had ammunition, live ammunition in their bags. And they were all arrested. And actually, they could have spent, I want to say it was 20 years in prison. Well, I want you to know, if you bring ammunition into this country, that's a big deal. And you don't want to mess with something like that because they can imprison you. You know, the same way as drugs, the same way as, you know, bringing in firearms. So those are the 7 different things that you want to know about when it comes to them being illegal in Mexico. And friend, I hope this has been helpful for you. And if you haven't and you found value in this video, I'd like to encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It's fast, free, and easy to do. All you gotta do is go to the bottom right-hand corner. There's a little red box. Tap on it and you're subscribed. Also give us one of those thumbs up. Lets other people know it's a great video to watch about retiring to Lake Chapala. Also go ahead and stop by, say hi, ask a question, leave a comment, or even let us know of a video idea that you'd like to see. And make sure that you hit the bell, because that way you'll be immediately notified when our next video comes out and you don't want to miss our next video. So as always, thanks you so much for being a part of this channel and supporting this community. Have an awesome day, and we'll see you on the next video.